Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Ingerman, and welcome to the Shamans Cave.
And I'm Renee Baribeau, and laughter is great medicine.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what our show is about today. Is not just about laughter, but laughter is a form of movement, moving energy. And so our show today is about movement. And we've talked about this before on other shows about how life has always been a struggle, in shamanic communities. It's not exactly like they didn't have their own real pain and real struggles that they went through. But when you compare, shamanic communities to a modern day culture, one of the differences, obviously, there's a million differences, but one of the differences is how much they move and how versus how much we sit and scroll, how much we sit and watch, um, how we drive. People are in their cars all day listening to podcasts all day, and then they get home and they feel all burnt out and they feel exhausted and they feel disempowered. And so in shamanic cultures, and again, we've done shows on this before, people were always moving. They had to move. They had to find food, they had to forage, they had to collect water, they had to cook, they were always standing and moving. But today, I was reading a wonderful post on the Shamans Cave Facebook page, and it was about the Bushmen and about how they really work through so many issues, and how they heal is by dancing and singing for hours and hours and hours. Like, that's how shamans always worked. I always say in my workshops where we dance and sing for 15 minutes to start a class that if we were in a shamanic culture, we'd be doing this for 3 hours, not 15 minutes. But we're limited on time, so this is what we're doing. And so this wonderful post on the Bushmen about how they dance and sing for hours and the energy collects in their body, and then they put their hands on somebody in need of help and transfer that energy, and that's one of their major uh, healing methods. And so we really wanted to do a show today on the power of movement, walking, dancing, singing, and what that does for us instead of sitting and scrolling or just sitting. Um, what happens to us when we add more movement into our daily life?
Mhm. Sitting is responsible for an unbelievable percentage of our current diseases because, as Sandra was saying, we're sitting in our car, sitting in front of our computer, sitting, 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 sitting. And one of the things that I've been doing with my new book, A Pilgrim's Guide to Walking Wisdom, is starting walking circles. And because for me, I need the impetus to get going. Like, I know that on Saturday mornings I'm meeting with the walking circle. So you better believe me that by Friday, if I haven't taken enough walks in the week, take a walk every single Friday so that I can walk my talk. I can't sit there and lead a walking circle if I'm not walking. And so I need that accountability because I'm the type of person who can sit at the computer for hours and hours and hours, and where is the time for the ceremony and the singing and the dancing, and all of those things can easily get stuck down the computer drain when we're not paying attention to how important it is to sing and dance and move.
Absolutely. I am feeling better now, which is really wonderful, but I had months I just could not get over this flu, that I got. And so, my husband and I got into a habit of at 3 o'clock in the afternoon of watching some really stupid thing on Netflix, eating dairy-free ice cream and drinking tea. While I was in this period for months, I just had to drink tea all day long. My body was just craving tea. I have no idea what was going on. And so I needed that time. I needed that time of rest. I actually felt guilty about it, which we should talk about on another show, how
Mm.
guilty people feel when they stop to rest. I've been hearing it from other people. I actually felt the whole world was watching that Santa Ringer and was in bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, it was unbelievable what I was going through. I was so sick, like, feeling guilty about being in bed. And so, anyway, I'm coming out of this illness, I'm getting the energy, but there's been this habit of 3 o'clock in the afternoon lying down in bed and watching, Netflix and drinking tea. And so the other day, Wits and I were walk or Netflix, and I we both said to each other, "We want Netflix and ice cream, but let's go out and take a walk. Let's just do it." And we did it, started doing it for the next couple of days, and of course, my health started returning, immediately. Um, I needed to bring that movement back into my life again. And, in our last show, we talked about being a big elephant in a tiny hut, and tremors is one of my issues, but I love to dance. I come from, one part of my family is a family of dancers. If you're, old enough to remember this, I had a cousin who was in the Rockettes and, in New York, and so, dancing has been I've been dancing ever since I was a kid, and I find that when I get up to do all these exercises that are supposed to be so good for my brain and so good for my nervous system, I do them, but I find myself in the middle of just breaking out into any dance that I wanna do. And that's what's healing me, not the formed exercises of do this 8 times. It's just letting myself go into ecstatic dance and allow my body to feel so free. And, oh my god, I feel so good for the rest of the day when I just allow myself to do that, and how many of you allow yourself to do that? And how many of you are gonna send me messages saying, "Have you done this form of dancing? Have you done this one?" Because that's what happens. I talk about a subject and people immediately give me the world's expert. And what I'm saying is I just get up and let my body move the way it wants to. I don't want a world's expert on how to do this.
Mm.
Just get up and move. And how many of you allow yourself to do that?
Mm. Um, I've been fascinated lately. I just watched that Bob Dylan movie, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's kind of got me into this remembering kind of thing. So I watched Joan Baez's autobiography video this week, and she's out there in her own field, and she started to dance. And I thought, like, well, yeah, this is just so perfect, like that. I mean, the whole world was watching because there was a video camera there, but my guess was that that was something that she would do with her and the dog out for the walk. One of the things that I've noticed in my walking group is the people who get out more often are the people who have a dog.
Right. Yeah.
Be an excuse to get out and go walking. And
Mhm.
last night I was so tired just from working so hard, and they're like, you don't have to decide that you're gonna walk 6,000 steps or 8,000 steps. You just need to go out the door.
Yeah.
and see where that's gonna take you. So, because sometimes we set up these parameters in our head, "Oh, I've got to dance a whole hour," unless you've got a good family wedding going on, you just have to turn on a song that you like to dance to and move. I need to do that. I'm missing that in the singing and the dancing and, getting out the rattle and the drum, and I'm looking forward to some more of that in my life coming up.
Yeah, I just like to get up sometimes and I just start shaking and I let my shaking just take me into some kind of movement. What you said, Renee, reminded me back in the old days. I used to teach 40 workshops a year and I was on the road 300 days a year. And, um, and then I went from weekend workshops to 5-day workshops, and I taught an amazing amount of 5-day workshops, and the 5-day workshops are 9:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And so at the lunch break, once we had cell phones, I would talk to Woods and I would say, "Oh my God, I'm so tired, Woods." And he would say, "Lay down with a Bob Monroe, a Hemisync CD, and just take a rest." And I would say to him, I just have a feeling if I would take a long walk outside, that that would actually be better than listening to a meditation CD. And I found that 100% at the time that when I was exhausted, and it wasn't every workshop, but obviously when you're teaching all year long, you're going to have cycles where you're just exhausted while you're teaching. In those cycles, I found the more I walked, I had no exhaustion.
Yes, it's really a potent, experience, and I think it's in the very act of putting one foot in front of the other, breathing in the wind and exhaling it, and I know when I'm living near a mountain right now, and I know when I get over to that path, I just 3 or 4 steps in, it all drops away,
Mhm.
thing changes.
Right.
And when I think I didn't have enough energy to get up the hill, I have more energy than I thought, and all of a sudden, I'm at the top of the hill and walking back down the hill. And I and it's almost it reminds me of when I would cook when I was, in the kitchen, that I could go into the kitchen in any mood that I was in, and as soon as put my attention to chopping, getting the mise en place, getting the pan going, and actually putting the ingredients together, then all of a sudden, that me getting out of the way of what I was thinking and busy doing, spirit comes through and realigns me because we're the one that moves. And so whether it's cooking, singing, dancing, walking, uh, we need to do it.
Absolutely. And you brought up singing, and singing for me is another way. In a lot of ways. Well, I'm very comfortable dancing. Um, and I absolutely love to sing. I love to sing. And when I was a kid, one of um my worst moments was when my mother could not, no matter what she did, and she was in the PTA, there was no way she could talk them into letting me into chorus, because that's what I was in dance classes and I was in art classes, and I loved them. When I was a little kid, I loved everything. I actually found when I was 7 years old, I found a ad in the newspaper for an art class, and I stood up on a chair and used one of the old phones and dialed the number and asked them if I could come to the class. They called my mother, and my mother signed me up, but that's an example of who I was as a kid. I had to be dancing, I had to be playing sports, I had to be, singing, I had to be doing art, I did all of it, I wrote every single day, and all that changed for me when I went into puberty, but before puberty, man, I was it was unbelievable. I just needed to have that movement, singing, art, dance all the time. And, um, and then I started teaching, but I was told I couldn't sing, and so when I would try to teach circle songs in my classes back in the really early '80s, you would think that the windows were gonna crack because I suppressed, I never sung after they didn't let me into chorus. I just stopped singing, and so ever since I started teaching and started wanting to teach circle songs, I started with it felt like the windows were gonna crack, but then because I was teaching so much, my voice got really strong, and I learned how to carry a tune through practice. And I have to tell you, because part of my disorder that I have is that my diaphragm is, frozen, that's how you unstick a diaphragm, and so every morning I do my circle songs, I sing my power songs that I use to call in the spirits. And I sing them with gusto and as loud as I can, and my god, there's nothing that makes you feel empowered like that. I mean, you just think about what you feel like if those of you who sing in the shower. Um, there's nothing like singing in the shower. I think I wrote about that in my 2nd book. We don't talk about that anymore, but back in those days, everybody used to talk about the power of singing in the shower and how they came out feeling that nothing could stop them. Nothing could stop them during their day.
That's funny. I was one of the people who, like, I don't know where I was shut down in my voice, but I met this, Hawaiian kahuna once, and he taught us in the circle one time. He says, "So how many of you here are afraid to sing out loud?" And I wasn't the only one who raised my hand. And he said, "Well, I have a trick for you." And he told us to cover our eyes.
Mm.
And it's always like whenever I think about, like, singing, I don't have to sit there and really cover my eyes, but I always think about, like, I can close my eyes and nobody's gonna see me sing, and it worked out well for me. A few weeks ago, again, after this movie, which kinda moved me probably because it was the time when I was growing up, I was going through my Spotify and asking for Joan Baez songs and Bob Dylan songs, and then I was on to Johnny Cash songs, and I spent all the way home from Los Angeles to Palm Desert, and it did the time just flew right on by, and because so many of those songs were also Girl Scout camp songs.
Right.
"Sir, my friend is blowing in the wind,"
Right. Yeah.
and, maybe my wind journey started long before I knew, but it's and someone was just telling me this morning in my, walking circle sounder that they love your circle songs
Mhm.
and know probably all the thousands of people who walk and sing your circle songs, uh, because you made it accessible for them to sing.
Right. Yeah, when I lead fire ceremonies at my workshops, uh, these days, people are a little bit tired and go to bed earlier, but back in the old days, after my fire ceremonies, nobody wanted to go to bed. We would stay up till 4 in the morning singing circle songs around the fire. And, people would teach another one, and somebody would teach another one, and somebody would teach another one, and be 4 o'clock, and then we'd be back in class at 9 o'clock in the morning, just feeling, so strong and happy and ready to keep going. And, it's just, really amazing. And so, one of the things that I love to do with groups is to teach people a song that, really helps them, and I can definitely teach a healing song today,
Mhm.
uh, that's probably there's a lot of circle songs that people really love, but the feedback that I'm getting is there's one particular song where you sing to the song to ask you sing to the sun to ask the sun to take your pain, your fear, your grief, whatever's bothering you at the moment to the cool waters down below so that you're free of it. And I can't tell you how many people have been healed from it. And I recently taught a class on death and dying where we dealt a lot with grief. And I felt it was really important for the group to sing the song every session. And we did. And the feedback that I got was the change that it created in people from doing it was amazing. And so sometimes I'm singing that song as loud as I can, and sometimes I'm doing the humming and just doing the humming of it, and I actually, if I can't go out for a particular reason, I'm not feeling well enough, I visualize myself standing out in nature with my arms up and open to the sun and, singing to the sun and asking it to release my pain, and this is what people have been doing for tens of thousands of years.
I love that. Yeah, there's a chapter in my Pilgrim's Guide to Walking Wisdom all about singing a song and about when you're walking, all of a sudden, songs you don't even remember come back in. Like from when the time I was a child, I'd be, in an excruciating long part of the trail. And all of a sudden, I'd find myself singing camp songs from when I was 7 at, and I sing them over and over again until I would remember them. And so I bet you deep inside of all of us are a lot of songs that we forgot that we remember. And it'd probably be really good for us to start to bring up some of those songs again. But I would love if you want to end today by singing that song.
Yeah, sure. I'm teaching a workshop next week, so I actually packed up my drum, but always have another one here. So as I get my drum and get ready, and let's see how my drum sounds. So it's a little tight. We're having a heat spell in Santa Fe right now. Um, so, I don't know how many of you, have been in groups, not shamanic groups or anything, but just where you went on long hikes with other people, and when things became hard, you all started singing together so that you could get through the hard paths, and how empowered you got, as you did that. So I believe that we all have examples from our own life and our own history of how singing a song got you through a tough time, how it got you through walking uphill, how it got you back into a balanced place again. So in this particular song, um, you're singing to the sun to ask the sun to take a pain. And it doesn't matter if it's a physical pain, emotional pain, and if you don't know what pain you have, you can just ask the sun to take what it sees that it needs to be released from your body. And so you're singing to the sun, and you ask the sun to take your pain to the cool waters down below. And those of you who study shamanism know that in doing extraction work, extraction of pains and illnesses, in only some cultures, not all cultures, it's only a few cultures, they actually work with water to put the extracting spirit into to neutralize the pain. So it's a form of healing that has done by shamans in certain cultures. Some shamans put it into fire, some into sand. So different elements are used, but some cultures use water. So, the words are morning sun, come my way, take my pain, down below, down below, down below, down below, cool waters down below. Usually the song is sung where you sing each verse 4 times, and you can do that in your own time. We'll just sing it through together once, and so I'll just do this with you. And so let's all just imagine ourselves, unless you're driving. If you're driving, just hold the intention and you can sing while you drive too. But if you're not driving, close your eyes and think about what you'd like the sun to take from you. So here we go. Morning sun, come my way, come my way, come my way, come my way. Take my pain, take my pain, take my pain, take my pain. Down below, down below. Down below, down below, cool waters down below. So that's a good one that you can sing. And I've actually shared this story on an earlier Shaman's Cave. I had a student back in the old days who had really bad PTSD from being in the Vietnam War, and he healed himself from going out and singing the song to the sun every day. He was so grateful for to me for teaching that song that, when I saw him a year later, he gave me the rattle that he used, to sing the song with every day.
Well, that's a beautiful story. I think I'll go out and sing to the sun once it's not 100 again.
Right.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed the show because I think this whole idea of movement and tell us how you move. Tell us what you do, what songs you sing, and you can do that over at the Shaman's Cave or over at the YouTube channel or, send us an email. And one thing is in the Shaman's Cave on Facebook, everyone wants to share their events and what they're up to. But we really wanna hear about your experiences. So, we don't really respond too well when people are just sharing their events and sharing from another page, because it's our page and our whole point is to help you get through these times with, the wisdom that we have, the wisdom that we share, and you share your wisdom, and then we can reflect as a group back on that as well.
Yeah, I've actually, I'm like a lot of people, I'm moving off of social media because I want more time in nature.
Mhm,
And so the only posts I'm responding to on the Shaman's Cave now are the ones written from the heart.
mhm.
Right from the heart, then you've received a comment. So think about that. We really need heart-centered conversations right now. More information is really not helping people right now, but heart-centered, what's happening in your heart right now.
So go outside in nature and sing a song today. All right. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Blessings, everyone.